Hello and welcome everyone, Lana here, and today I'm taking a look at the brand new DLC for Total War Attila, The Last Roman. It's a campaign pack, and it focuses on the Roman expedition led by Flavius Belisarius. Not a period of history that I've studied. I mainly at university studied medieval history, so I was kind of looking at Saxons, well, not Saxons onwards because they're already in this, but looking at the kind of establishment of the early English kingdoms and things like that. I guess sort of 600 onwards, so I'm kind of just after this is when I have my knowledge, so I don't know much about this, so I'm looking forward to playing it and then learning and seeing what was going on in this period anyway. But yeah, this is a faction overview video. Those of you that are familiar with them on my channel will know what they entail, but for those of you that don't, who've stumbled across this, hello. Basically in the faction overview I'm going to be going through each of the factions, showing their starting position, any diplomatic stuff that's going on, having a look at a few of their buildings and units they have available to them, and then kind of moving on to the next faction and seeing what's going on there. Probably, you know, I guess thinking about some of the potential tactics and areas of expansion that various kingdoms could look to go off in, which areas they could progress onto and look to conquer. So I'll share my thoughts on that. I'm just going to leave it playing it very hard because I'm not actually kind of playing the game as such. I'm just, you know, loading up and having a look at where the factions are. Also, I should say, I know there's been a few similar sorts of these videos made by other YouTubers at the moment, and that's because they got early access to the Last Roman DLC, which I did as well. I got the email with the code and everything, but I've been away for the last week on holiday, so this is kind of me playing catch up a little bit now. But I wanted to make my own video for you guys. I will also be doing a new Versus multiplayer campaign against Alex the Rambler. We've played 2 multiplayer versus so far, and it's one apiece. So this is it could be a bit of a decider as to who's going to kind of press on in our kind of current multiplayer versus series. Rambler is playing, I believe, as the Visigoths, and I'm playing as the Ostrogoths, so that'll be uploaded, or start very soon, and you'll get a couple of uploads of that every week. So if you want to see some of the new campaign pack DLC in action, then feel free to check that out. I won't be doing a single player series on this for a while until I finish some of my other series. I wouldn't mind doing the Roman Expedition at some point, but that will be a ways down the line, because with the Roman Expedition, let's kind of start into the overview now with them. You get the option to either reclaim land for the Roman Empire, which is obviously their reclamation faction trait there, or you can choose to take it for yourself for the expedition itself, and then you actually kind of try to re-establish the Western Roman Empire. And in fact, all of the various factions have the same reformation of the Western Empire. Control 40 regions to gain the diplomatic option, join the Empire. So that's quite a fun option that Creative Assembly have put in there. You know, you can potentially try and reforge the Western Roman Empire rather than just reclaiming land for the Eastern Roman Empire if you play as Belisarius and the Roman Expedition. So we're going to go through each of them in turn. So obviously you've got Reclamation for the Roman Expedition. You have a Roman Will, which no movement cost for fortifying encampment styles. That's pretty good. For the Vandalic Kingdom, you have Piracy plus 100% increase to the income from raiding in all provinces and sea regions. You've got Sabotage Specialists plus 20% to the success chance of sabotage actions. The Ostrogothic Kingdom, you have Impatience, plus 10 morale for 5 turns, primary force only, after battle victory. And Occupation, no instability public order when occupying settlements. Now that's quite interesting, because that should allow you, as the Ostrogothic Kingdom, even though you've got pretty much the whole of Italy covered when you first start off in your capital at was it Ravenna? You have the option to essentially just push on very quickly and expand out very fast, because you have higher morale for your units if you keep pushing out, and you have no instability from public order negative modifiers when you occupy, so you'll just have to, you know, have enough to sort out the public order that's in the settlement itself, which is going to be great for quick expansion. Frankish Kingdom, battle honor, no penalty to integrate to integrity rather, from casualties suffered in battle. Oh, that's good. So you can lose as many as you want, and you'll have no integrity casualties. And you have Alanic Heritage plus 3 experience for cavalry units upon recruitment. And then you have the Visigothic Kingdom, which is persuasive, high rate of religious conversion in all owned provinces. So as they expand, they can spread their religion to other territories very quickly, and again that will help with public order and expansion. You also got tolerance, no public order penalties from immigration in owned provinces. Again, that's very useful. So both kind of the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths have these modifiers and traits which will help you expand probably faster than you normally could. So that'll be quite interesting to see how that plays out. So I'm just looking at the size of the various factions before we jump into seeing the Roman expedition starting location and what have you. Obviously they start off with, you know, just a horde essentially. They're a horde type faction at the start of this. The Vandalic Kingdom, they have Carthage and sort of that North African coast there. The Ostrogothic Kingdom have Italy. Frankish Kingdom have a fair bit of Gaul and France. And the Visigothic Kingdom have a fair bit of Spain. You know, if they can conquer all of Spain, unify there, they'll get a lot of, I would have thought, be a good economic hub to build up. Then you can either go up against Gaul, or you can push over to Italy, or into North Africa. You've got a good pushing point there. So we are going to jump on in with the Roman expedition. I'm leaving it on very hard because, you know, we're not actually playing the game, we're just taking a look at it. So we'll leave the intro cinematic going for this first one, but I'll probably cut it out unless it's different for the others. So let's have a look at the Roman expedition.
A finer man for the task. Retake the former Western Roman Empire from the barbarians. Deliver it to our beloved Emperor on a plate. These games should be in your honor. When I heard Justinian had you in mind, I can't say I was surprised. After all, you were his uncle's favorite bodyguard. Not to mention your accomplishments at the Battle of Dara. And the way you suppressed the riots in Nika. You are the last of the great commanders, and your loyalty is clearly above question. However, the ruins of Rome are a wild and unpredictable place. A lot can happen out of reach of these fragrant walls. A man might look about him and think perhaps that it is all rightfully his. Good luck, Belisarius.
The Emperor Justinian has grand plans for the Empire. From his seat at Constantinople, he plans to reclaim those western territories lost to barbarism for the glory of Rome. However, presently it's no more than a vision. What Justinian really needs is a general to command his army. The type of man who hasn't been seen since the time of Caesar and Augustus. In Belisarius, Justinian has found this man. The key to this grand plan is control of the Mediterranean Sea to secure supply and trade routes. which will ensure the army is kept and the dream of a restored united empire maintained. However, the Vandal fleet is too powerful to attack head-on. Control of northern Africa must be decided on the battlefield before any hope of taking Rome can be entertained. Once Africa has been recovered, we must turn our attention to the Ostrogothic usurpers who rule Italy. Great glory awaits he who delivers Rome into Roman hands once again.
So there we go. Obviously this is during the reign of Emperor Justinian, and Belisarius, again, kind of the heralding of the last of the great generals of Rome, the last Roman, gets his title. So, gets his name. So we've got this expedition. As we start off, we are a horde, as it were. In fact, we've got the horde icon. So obviously, if you're used to playing, as some of the horde factions in Attila, they function pretty much the same. Again, you have this encampment state, which you can jump on down to, and you obviously have unique kind of buildings that Creative Assembly have added in for the Romans as a horde or expedition, and they all look pretty good. It's pretty similar to the ones you'll find again for hordes and the horde mechanic in the base game Total War Attila. So yeah, nothing much to say on that, but obviously you've got a lot to... You've been given kind of a war chest to start with. Again, you'll need to probably encamp with at least one of your forces so that you can get a positive income, although I don't know if you... It depends really what you want to do with a settlement once you take it. And now, I'm not actually going to fight this battle, but I'm going to show that scenario by just going in and allowing it auto-resolve. Obviously, I probably should have done the diplomatic overview before I launched off on this. Actually, yeah, let's encircle. We'll do the diplomatic situation first with these guys. So, the Roman expedition is here, and we are obviously military allies with the Roman Empire, or the Eastern Roman Empire, but obviously they're calling themselves the Roman Empire at the moment because the Western one has fallen, so they are all that remains. Seat of power in Constantinople, but all of the only land that remains, or that is shown in this map itself, is the coast here. So the kind of western part of the Roman Empire that survives up the coast there in Dalmatia. But as you can see, I've just zoomed out here to the whole tactical, or strategic map, I guess. When I initially saw this, I was sort of thinking they've kind of grabbed Hannibal at the gates and Caesar in Gaul and smushed the two maps together to create, a big map of the Mediterranean, along with a fair bit of Gaul. You got all of Spain, all of Italy, and a bit of North Africa there. I don't necessarily think that's too much of a bad thing, as long as it offers a unique campaign experience, rather than kind of it just feeling like it's a regurgitated Hannibal at the gates and Caesar in Gaul experience. But again, with both of those, you weren't covering necessarily. It's not covering new ground. This is not a brand new map that we've not ever seen before in a Total War game. Obviously a smaller scale is shown on the Grand Campaign map with less provinces. This is zoomed in, more provinces, more regions, more settlements. So kind of more detail within this. But again, the main point of this is to look at the conflict of the time, and obviously Belisarius' expedition that you have going on. So back to diplomacy, we're allies with the Roman Empire, we're at war with the Vandalic Kingdom, so that's good. I always like that when you have a kind of a clear enemy to go for when you first start. It's good to have an enemy you can instantly launch into. And the Vandalic Kingdom, of the other kingdoms that are in the game that you can play as, they're the smallest besides obviously the expedition itself. So they have 11 territories. The Roman Empire itself has 8. The Ostrogothic Kingdom, which we can see as well, has 33. So it is a huge empire. Lots of lands. Vandalic Kingdom has 11 regions ripe for the taking. Obviously, you can see here we have the same people. So we can try. You have this kind of reintroduction of the confederation or joint confederacy ability that you had in past titles. So at a later point, I don't think you can do it now. No.
Spent feasting and hunt.
But I guess you can try and.
Speak.
Oh, we can't actually do anything with them. We can't even.
I am sure
no
you
diplomatic
have
option.
many
We have to kill them.
for me.
But yeah, you can just you can at some point, again, I think it's that reformation of the Western Roman Empire. If you have enough territories, and you can actually kind of form a confederacy or confederation rather with the other factions, or maybe you can do it before. Again, I've not had a chance to play this, so I'm just kind of working out the mechanic itself. But I assume it's something like that. At some point, you can form and absorb them into your territories and form a larger empire if you want to. And that kind of brings me into the result of this battle, which again, it's going to be a quick auto resolve. We'll go aggressive, why not? So yes, these are the two options that you have when you take a settlement playing as the Roman expedition. You can reclaim, and the control of this region will go to the Roman Empire. Obviously, you'll be able to replenish within their lands because they're your ally. And what have you, but you won't gain a territory, a settlement, or anything like that. Or you can go it alone, which means that I guess you wouldn't get with the Roman expedition. You also get kind of messages and missions given to you from the Emperor Justinian, from the Empress, and from your wife. And they'll obviously give you paths that you can go on. But I would have thought that if you declare independence straight away, you're probably not likely to get many messages, or positive messages anyway, from the Emperor. But obviously if you declare independence, the expedition will end, you'll turn into normal armies, and you'll occupy a settlement, and it'll be, you know, the familiar experience that you have. We're going to hit reclaim on this for now, though, so it goes over to the Empire. If we have a look at our victory objectives, for this first chapter, you have to survive until 535, so in 2 years. And looks like you've got I think it's 12 turns per year, so you literally go through the months, and you have various other objectives to follow for bonuses of gold, reclaim a Carthage, and that is for expedition only. Ensure that your faction does not settle, so we've already got that one. Separatist only, bar the windows. So again, it's nice that they've given you options to go both if you want to, and you have two kind of ultimate victories or triumphs as well. So you have expedition victory, which is obviously if you keep as the expedition and just reclaim land for the Empire, and you've got to reclaim various settlements and hold a certain number of units and have a reasonable amount of income. Or you can go for a separatist victory, which is obviously claiming those lands for yourself. Again, similar. You've also got two triumphs. A loyalist triumph, if you remain loyal to the Roman Empire, it's just basically doubling the number of settlements you need to have. Or the Western Roman Emperor's triumph, which is make a faction join your empire. Again, that same people icon that we saw in the diplomacy menu, that will come into play there. And that kind of allows you to actually reform the Western Roman Empire if you want yourself.
Ready for orders.
So obviously we've got we've got Belisarius here. Basic units to start with. You've got the spears here. You've got the exploratores, swordsmen, which I remember seemed pretty crap in Attila. Pretty low defense. You have some medium melee infantry as well. And obviously, from what you can recruit from your pool of units, you have a interesting faction pool. I'll probably look at all the factions units in a custom battle panel at towards the end of this overview. We'll come back and have a look at all the units that you can actually get. So you've got a kind of a mix. So you've got horse archers in here as well, which would be quite interesting to use. But you do have you've got the cataphracts there, or cataphracti. For that charge bonus as well, and obviously technology to progress with as well. So that is the Roman starting location. That is some of the things that they can get up to. So really, you can choose to reclaim land for the Roman Empire or go separatist. And I guess the main way of doing that is if you attack them, I assume you remain an expedition, so you actually need to take settlements. But I guess I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. Whether, I mean, the longer you go on, if you're reclaiming territory, the kind of the later it gets for you to really decide if you want to go separatist. Because if you've done that and if you've reclaimed loads of land for the Roman Empire, obviously you're expanding that, which means it's land you've got to go back and conquer and take. So at least it gives you kind of two very clear different branches at the start of the campaign of where you want to go off to, separatist or expedition. And I would assume because they've got those various different bonus objectives that they continue all the way through if you go separatist or expeditionary and remain loyal. So yeah, right, we're going to now take a look at the next faction on the list, which I believe is the Vandalic Kingdom, which makes sense considering we've just attacked them with the Romans. So let's take a look at the Vandals.
Since deposing Hilderic and taking the Vandal throne for himself, Gelimer has set about reinventing the kingdom in the image of his great-grandfather, Gaius Eric. However, deposing a pro-Roman king has drawn the attention of the Emperor. He has sent an expeditionary force, commanded by a general called Belisarius, to take back northern Africa in the name of the Roman Empire. This must be dealt with swiftly. We must not allow the Romans to get a foothold. Once Africa is secure, we must turn our attention to the islands of Sardinia and Corsica, as these places are also Vandalic possessions by right of conquest. Our fleet must be rebuilt if we are to succeed in this. It may only be a matter of time before the seas are under control once again, but the real prize is Rome. Once Africa and the Western Mediterranean are secure, we must turn our attention to the conquest of Italy, for you cannot rule the world if you do not rule in Rome.
Cannot rule the world if you do not rule in Rome. So within that, you've kind of been given your short-term and long-term goals, or suggestions at least, which is short-term, deal with the Roman expedition, which has landed with Belisarius. And long-term goal is obviously to get yourself over to Rome and take it from the Ostrogothic Empire. Let's have a look at the diplomacy for the Vandalic Kingdom to start with. You hold a fair bit of North Africa. The Berbers are over here. Obviously there are other factions in the game. Just 5 playable. I thought we were at war. Oh, no, it's similar colours. The Sardinians you're at war with. You're at peace. You're actually... I know, same people. I thought that was an ally thing there. No, but you're pretty friendly with the Ostrogothic Kingdom to start with. Potential to improve friends there, and also the Visigothic Kingdom as well. But I mean, you could easily push west and take out the Berbers, claim some more land, hold all of North Africa. It would probably also be wise to take Sardinia and Corsica if you can, because then you've got staging grounds to launch yourself at either the Ostrogothic Kingdom or the Visigothic Kingdom. Visigothic Kingdom have less territories than the Ostrogoths. Obviously, Ostrogoths have 33, Visigoths have 18. So, I mean, if you've already got your strength over here in the west, you could sweep in from 2 fronts and try and squeeze the life out of the Visigothic Kingdom from both north and south, and then push on the Ostrogoths. That seems like a fair tactic to me. You obviously have the navies, which we saw mentioned in the Roman expeditions kind of intro. That's why the Roman expedition needs to try and claim some land early on, or win its battles on land, because it has no way of combating that navy just yet. And you've got these Greek fire ships over here, which is good. Yes. Got an army on this ship, which 2 armies actually, which look like they're ready to go after Corsica, it would seem, at Corralis. Sardinia rather, at Corralis. However, that said, obviously these 2 Roman armies are going to be able to gain some ground pretty quickly. They'll probably take both of these southern settlements. Potentially, you might be able to hold them here if you can kind of accept the losses of these 2 down there. Obviously at war with the Roman Empire and the Roman expedition. I guess you could send forces round to deal with the Roman Empire and take the land over here. again, as talking about that option of whether you want to sandwich the Visigothic kingdom, you could do the same to the Ostrogoths by taking out the Sardinians. You can still push west a little bit and get rid of the Berbers, build up a strong diplomatic alliance with the Visigoths, but then you could push north, take Liguria, you could hit Sicily, push up from there, and if you've taken out the Roman Empire around here, you can smash in from behind, from the east, so that's a potential option there with the Vandals as well. Lots of settlements, looking at their units, we've got Moorish levies, you've got Vandal horsemen, and obviously their buildings, they've got the Arian church. Fair bits of upgrades. Probably want to see, I say, none of these are really earning a huge amount of income. Obviously the corruption's still there. I don't know if that's been tweaked, because I recently had a bit of a moan in my Let's Plays about corruption going crazy. But we'll see if maybe that's been tweaked in this campaign. I don't know. Need to sit down and play some. But yeah, so really early on, take out the Roman expedition as soon as possible. Take out the Sardinians. And probably make ready for war against the Berbers. I don't know if maybe it'll be like a turn one, end turn, and they attack you straight away sort of thing, and try and divide and conquer your forces. But it'd be worth going for them pretty quickly, I'd have thought. Although, no, sorry, I'm looking at Sardinians. Yeah, the Berbers over here. They're not at war with anyone else, so the Visigoths haven't taken an interest yet, but it probably wouldn't be too long before they'll sweep on down and start trying to take land, so get over there quick, take some land, hold all of North Africa, and then you've got options of going after but either the Visigoths or the Ostrogoths or the Roman Empire, and sweeping on round. I mean, you could even, I guess if you wanted to, not really migrate, but send an expedition of your own, you could sail up around Iberia and hit northern Gaul. So, we're now going to jump over, I think, to the Ostrogoths themselves, taking a look at the new occupants of Rome and Italy. Let's go take a look at what challenges they face.
Theodoric's death has left the Ostrogothic kingdom in disarray. His grandson, King Attila, is still a child, and although his mother acts as regent, disgruntled family members plot and scheme behind the scenes, ready to take power at the flimsiest of opportunities. However, the kingdom is also beset from without. Pressure from the Franks and Langobards has put its northern marches in danger, whilst the Roman East forever plans to take back its lost empire. Yet although we live in perilous times, there is respite. The Romans have landed an expedition in Africa and taken the war to the Vandals. This might give us the opportunity to deal with the Frankish and Langobard incursions in the north before concentrating our efforts to the south and east. For an Ostrogothic future to be ensured, our grip on Italy must be maintained at all costs. If we also happen to bring Africa and the Balkans under our control, then more's the better.
Dun dun dun. So actually I haven't been looking at the family trees really that much for others, but we've got a I thought we had a regency going on there, but apparently not. What is this? Still a child. Is this him? No. Okay. Okay. Well, we've got a family going on there. I was looking at that thinking I'd have a regency going on, but apparently not. But anyway, so got our emperor there. We control Italy. We have Rome, our king. We've got the see there, the Latin Church.
Thirsty for battle.
Thirsty for battle. It's kind of a mix between Germanic. Well, you've got this Germanic, well, obviously the very heavy barbarian influence there, with the Germanic spears and axemen and archers. But then you have these tier 3 medium cavalry, which look pretty cool, quite armoured as well. So that's nice, it's going to be good fun. So, yes, the introduction by the advisor gives you, again, short and long-term goals, suggestions, dealing with the factions in the north in Gaul, and then sweeping south against the Vandals, which, you know, suggests that you leave them to deal with the Roman expedition for now. If you have a look at diplomacy, we're not currently at war with anyone, which is nice. Again, I don't know how difficult it would be to actually go up against the Eastern, or rather the Roman Empire itself, and just sweep down that coast, claim all of it, unite all the force you have here in the east, cut that off there. The Burgundians, probably a good point to push up against there and take that land. If you can, I mean, I guess if you wanted to, you could take them out, move on, take out the Frankish kingdom as well, and then, you know, you've really squashed the potential expansion that the Visigothic kingdom can enjoy by doing so. So, plenty of land to do there. You've got trade going on. You've got non-aggression and military access with the Visigothic kingdom for now, to start with. So you're quite friendly with them. Getting on nicely, but probably see if you can't stunt their growth and expansion by sweeping in, taking out the Burgundians and stopping them pushing further there. But again, with military access, they're going to go where they want to. Everyone else is not really that keen on you. Roman Empire, probably best declare war on them at some point. But you have plenty of options. And again, I think you're the largest kingdom, largest faction that you can play as when the game begins. 33 territories, and obviously you hold much of what once was the Western Roman Empire's kind of heartland. Although, looking at these settlements, even Rome, they're not earning that much, so you're probably going to want to build up your economy a fair bit. You're not earning a huge amount. You've got a lot of lands to look after. You've got a few ships. Armies, again, you're going to have the same problem that the Western Roman Empire did. You've got a large amount of territory, and you've got to find a way to hold on to it all. Again, the kind of detail in the mountains here definitely reminds me of kind of the Caesar and Gaul campaign map, finding all those passes and little settlements that hold the key pathways and crossroads in through the mountains. It's going to be interesting to see how you can do. Also, as I said, I think I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm doing a versus multiplayer campaign with Alex the Rambler, and I'm going to be playing as the Ostrogothic kingdom. He's going to be playing as the Visigothic kingdom. So we're going to be going after each other. Those kind of friendly diplomatic relations will die in our multiplayer campaign pretty quickly, but should mean that there's going to be some big clashes along the way. Interesting to see what the Franks have on their mind, because obviously none of the other factions have really touched on them being much of a threat. You know, we've obviously had the mention of the Burgundians up here. I would expect that the Franks are going to push down toward them. Their units, looked at diplomacy, looked at the family tree briefly, and got confused about whether there's a regency or not. Whether I'm still half asleep from travelling back from holiday yet and not understanding what I'm reading. But I think that's all we need to cover for these guys. Have a quick look at the options here. Again, you don't have any split things here, but you can try and assassinate people. And you have a minor victory, military victory, cultural victory, and a divine triumph, obviously all scaling up with the number of territories that you need. But the basic one is obviously surviving until spring 540 and controlling 40 different regions, which you already have 33 when you start, and a fair few of these territories. So it'll mainly be about amassing more wealth, having more units, looting and sacking a little bit, and having technologies, and obviously keeping the Roman expedition out of your lands. So, and I'm going to take a look at the Franks.
It was Clovis who united the Franks and fired the hunger for conquest in the breast of our people. The Romans, Visigoths, Alamans and Burgundians have all tried to halt our advance, and all have been stripped of both lands and dignity. The Burgundian leader, Gundobad, slew the family of Queen Clotilda, and now her stepson, our King Theuderic, marches to punish their treachery. We must eradicate these people and secure our advance south. Here, the Visigoths lick their wounds, and I the territory we so recently wrested from their grasp. Their remaining lands are fertile, yet poorly guarded, and would make a fine acquisition. However, we must keep some strength in reserve. The Romans dream of reconquering Italy. Defeat them, and we may yet conquer all Rome's former lands in the west. We alone defend the true faith, and God will reward his people with the creation of a new Christian empire in Europe.
Okay, religious overtones there. So, essentially, we're kind of saying the Franks are here, and we're ready to push south and destroy everyone. The only people that we're remotely not pissed off about are the Visigoths, who we want to take their lands anyway. But probably a good idea to actually keep them. We've actually got them trade income. We're at war with the Burgundians, the Bretons over here. That would probably be quite, I'm going to say, it'd be quite fun for someone to make a mod to unlock them in this campaign. It'd be good fun starting a small little Breton colony there and going crazy. Starting in Brittany, moving out from our small beginnings, small little kingdom of the Bretons, moving on out across the world. But Frankish kingdom, back on task, Lionheart, back on task. Yes, essentially, the idea is that you could push in all directions. Go for it. You're at war with Burgundians, so try and take their land before the Ostrogothic kingdom perhaps feel want to reach up there. If you can take out the Burgundians and you've secured a fair portion of Gaul, and you just want to push down to the south, to the coast, I mean, then it depends how your relations fare with the Visigoths with your advance. I mean, you're already sharing a border here. You could go after the Iberian factions, just try and keep the Visigoths happy, and then throw your weight towards the Ostrogoths. Or you could wipe them out, claim all of Iberia as well as Gaul, and then throw your weight against the Ostrogoths, or sweep through North Africa and then back at them. Going east, kind of the same, you cycle around this way. A war on two fronts against Ostrogoths and Visigoths, probably not going to be too favourable for you. You don't really have a particularly strong economy either yet, so you're going to want to build up that a fair bit as well. Starting off, but obviously you need to deal with those Burgundians and need to send your armies into their lands pretty quickly. Besantio over here, a prime target to start with. So you want to rally your forces. Pretty stable troops. I don't know if there's too many new units. Got Freeman there. Well, again, we'll have a look at the faction rosters after we've taken a look at the Visigoths in a moment and just run down the various units there that each faction has to them. But I don't think there's too many there. Probably be quite used to these sorts of units. Germanic backgrounds there for a lot of them, or Germanic roster. Nice little family tree going on. Again, I like the fact that you've got these kind of unique faction leaders to start with. It's good. Alright. I think technology there. Obviously, the victory objectives, minor, military, and divine. And ours by right, going through various territories again. Kind of big focus on getting rid of the Burgundians and pushing south and spreading out. I think there was one there. Oh. One there about taking out Brittany, was it? Always Breton black. Yeah. Cool. Right. That's the Franks. Eyes set south and everywhere, pretty much. Go forth and conquer from Gaul. Let's have a look at the Visigoths.
Our people have come a long way. Where once we sought refuge over the Rhine as a band of shivering refugees, now we are lords of the large and fertile Iberian Peninsula. But we must not grow complacent. The reign of a child king has weakened our power, causing the infighting which besets us still. To make matters worse, at our lowest ebb, the rapacious Frankish kings stripped us of our former possessions in Gaul. We will redress this wrong and put an end to Frankish avarice. But first, we should focus on consolidating our gains. The Suebi to the west wage a bitter and persistent war and will prevent us from deploying our troops until they are defeated and swept away. Once we have reclaimed our stolen land, we can think once again about forging an empire. Africa lies a stone's throw away across the water. We should have little trouble seizing it from the Vandals, who have surely lost their taste for conquest. However, beware the Romans. They move inexorably through their old lands, reforging their Western Empire. Yet we will be ready for them when they reach Hispania. We must.
Had to do a little cut there just because at the moment there's a big motorsporting event going on near where I live at Goodwood, and they've just had an aircraft display. The red arrow's been flying over my house, so you probably wouldn't have heard a word I'd said if I'd left it in. So anyway, the Visigothic kingdom, they're sort of suggesting they're kind of, they just want to pat themselves on the back for a little bit and just say, look at what we've achieved. Obviously, playing as the Visigoths in Total War Attila, you start off over in the east as a horde, and you're wandering across the lands, finding the perfect place to settle. And obviously, this shows where they did go and settle historically, over in Iberia, over in Spain. And, they're kind of now facing the new challenges that face them. Interesting in the introduction, there's kind of sort of suggesting, don't worry about the Roman expedition, let them come to us and then we'll deal with them. I'd rather not let them get strong, so if I see them, if I'm playing as the Visigoths, and if I see them taking out the Vandals, I'd probably want to move in and deal with them pretty soon. So, we're at war with the Suebians to start with, and this is again what I kind of hypothesized earlier on, suggesting that you're going to want to, if you can, unify Iberia as soon as possible. The Basques, they are not friendly with you either, so if you can, try and absorb them in. Hold all of Iberia. Southern Gaul is held by the Frankish kingdom, who you are not happy with. You are not too happy with them in the slightest. The only people you aren't too bothered about are the Ostrogoths and the Vandals. Maybe worth... I guess if you can take out the Basques and the Suebians and then move on the Berbers, then you might be able to potentially halt the Roman advance if they've managed to take out the Vandals. But I don't know how well the AI is actually going to handle with this. Anyone that's playing this so far, if you're playing with any of the factions that aren't the Roman expedition, how does the Roman expedition do? Does it actually manage to push back the Vandals? Do they have a bit of a tough time? Do they randomly sail off, say, to the Ostrogoths or what have you? It'd be interesting to see where they go, actually. Kind of track their progress. Obviously, I would say that the primary concern is unite all of Iberia straight away. If you want to, you're not exactly friendly towards the Burgundians. See if you can claim the Burgundian lands, Burgundy. And you won't have to worry too much in the east, so long as the Ostrogoths don't mind you doing that. In fact, that will give you a bit of protection if you can keep them on your side. Taking out the Burgundian land, you could then push and take out all of the Frankish kingdom as well, and claim kind of the west and the north as your empire. If you take out the Berbers as well, then you have a good foothold down in North Africa, and then it essentially is kind of a big push east against your remaining enemies, or if the Ostrogoths are looking favourably on you, your allies. So that's quite interesting there, but obviously that's going to depend on what your victory objectives are and which territories you need to take. Provence and other sort of pretty much all of Gaul. So yeah, that push towards Gaul is going to be a big focus for you, as well as unifying Spain. So unify Spain, take out Gaul, and then chaos, basically. Do whatever you want. Your economy is looking actually pretty good. You got a healthy income. I think that's probably the highest I've seen for any of the factions. You will probably want to build that up, though, as far as you can, as much as possible, before you get into too many wars. See if you can really work those resources and increase the earnings that you've got. Let's have a look at the family tree. We've got a king and a faction heir and a daughter. Looking at some of the units, that Germanic roster pretty prevalent there as well.
For the tribe!
Gothic warband, I love the shields on these guys. Visigoth slingers, Germanic horsemen. We'll take a look at more of the rosters in full in a second, before when we leave the campaign map. So yeah, that's the Visigoths. Not much to it. Really too much different from the empires. Each of these kind of kingdoms have got their own set of objectives and good suggestions of where they could expand to. It kind of, it depends, I guess, how the Romans are actually going to expand, but it doesn't feel, unless you're the Vandals, that the Romans are too much of a threat, really. The Ostrogoths are huge, they could easily deal with the Roman Empire over here, and the expedition, it's 2 half-stacks, if that. Visigoths, you're going to want to unite your newfound homeland in Iberia, and then probably look into Gaul. So, interesting starting locations for these guys there. Plenty of room to expand and potential wars and alliances to look to forge. We're now going to have a brief look through the faction roster before I wrap up this overview. So now we're just going to have a quick look through the rosters before I wrap up this overview. We've gone through all the starting locations, all the potential intricacies of the politics and diplomacy for each of the factions when you first start. We're taking a look at their starting locations, where you might want to expand off to. So the overview is pretty much complete, but we're just going to run down the unit roster, see if there's any units that jump out and look interesting. Obviously, a few of the factions kind of already exist in the game, so they've been any, I guess, expansions to their rosters have been just added into them, like the Franks and the Visigoths. They don't have their own separate factions. The Ostrogoths, oddly, have been given Ostrogothic Kingdom and the Ostrogoths, so we'll see what major differences are there and what's changed. Obviously, the Roman expedition needs to be its own separate faction because it's not the Eastern Roman Empire and it's not the Western Roman Empire. It's its own little expeditionary force, but I would assume that it probably takes units from both of those 2 faction pools. Yeah, likewise, I guess other factions you might come up against, like the Burgundians or what have you, will feature there as well. Also, the Suebians, they are a brand new faction you can play as on the main campaign now as well. There was a free LC update that came out alongside the last Roman DLC. Have a look at that as well when we're done. So, the Roman expedition, you have the Guard Cavalry as your general unit. You have Spear Infantry. I'm not going to try and pronounce some of these guys because I'm going to mess it up horrifically. So 2 different types of Spear Infantry, a Tier 2, a Tier 1 and a Tier 2 rather. Then you have Melee Infantry. And interestingly, you have I was saying Thracian Oathsworns. I was thinking, interestingly, Thracian Oathsworns, but obviously it's bugged out from whatever faction I had here searched previously. But you've got some pretty solid heavy infantry. Looking pretty good. You've got axe infantry as well, which look pretty well armoured. You've got very heavy. You've got guard axemen as well. Nice. They look nice. You can do some good damage against other infantry units. You've got bow infantry as well. You've also got crossbows, slingers, skirmishers. You've got the Tagmata cavalry. And you've got some bow cavalry in there as well. And standard artillery equipment. I'll just have a quick look at the Franks, see if they've had anything new added in. To be honest, I'm not that familiar with their unit roster, so I probably wouldn't know too much, but these 2 at the end look new. But again, I haven't played with the Franks before. But you'll find a link in the description where you can find all the patch notes and Last Roman DLC information, so you can actually find out all the new units there as well. This is just a bit more of a visual representation of what we can see. Germanic elite archers, they're already there. Okay. Fair enough. Now, Ostrogothic Kingdom, and they've got a complete... Let's quickly jump between Ostrogothic Kingdom and the Ostrogoths. Oh yeah, very different. We have a look there. Yeah, far less melee infantry options for these guys. Looks like, is it a few more spearmen now that they've kind of taken up? Because the Ostrogoths are trying to sort of forge themselves as the new empire in Italy. It's interesting that they've kind of, in that sense, they've dropped the kind of Germanic spear units there and gone for kind of a mix between, yeah, like if you mushed Germanic barbarians and Romans together, this is what you get. Comitatensis there, and spear veterans right at the end. You've got a couple of pike units, Ostrogothic pikemen, leets, that sort of Gothic heritage for them. And melee infantry, veterans and comitatensis, axe infantry. That's quite an interesting change, and elite bows there as well. Quite an interesting change for them. With their units there, noble Gothic lancers. So yeah, keeping some of their more traditional, I guess, heritage almost, but mixing in with, I guess, the units that they've assimilated from conquering the lands of the former Western Roman Empire. The Vandals, obviously, again, they're just grabbing a few new units probably into their existing faction from the main game. Like a lot of cavalry again, that heavy focus on cav there. Be able to ride down the Roman expedition quite quickly. And the Visigoths down the bottom again, Germanic build and Gothic warband, Thracian oaths all there from the normal game. But you got these. I don't think the Visigothic slingers, they new. Again, have a look at those links in the description if you want to see which ones are specifically new for them. But mainly let's take a look at the slightly new factions, the Ostrogothic Kingdom and obviously the Roman expedition itself. The Suebians, though, they are a free DLC update, so even if you do not buy the DLC, you will get these guys anyway. Suebi Oath Takers, a nice solid tier 2 heavy spear infantry unit. Germanic build there. I have heard some people say it does kind of seem like quite a copy-paste Germanic roster. Obviously, just a little bit of flair, changes to the armour and what have you for most of these. I guess it's free content, it's free DLC. There probably will be some unit packs being made for these guys by modders in the community. I mean, I'm to be honest, I'm always up for seeing more diverse factions with different rosters. But again, if they're all coming from that Germanic background, how different are they really going to be? Noble Suebi swordsmen, Suebi champions, lots of elite Germanic archers. And then cavalry, I mean, pretty similar. So not many units really jumping out there that look, too amazing. But another faction there if you want to play as Suebians, because they start off as a horde, I believe. Let's have a look, in fact, before we wrap things up by just going to the Grand Campaign, Barbarian Kingdoms. No, where are they? Celts, Great Migrators. Yes, Suebians are Great Migrators. So your Suebian hordes, you start off in sort of central Gaul, really, and where you go is up to you. Obviously, in the Last Roman, they've gone over to Iberia, so you can choose where you go. And they've got skilled migrators, minus 35% upkeep for 10 turns for any army that loots or sacks a settlement. That's pretty cool, so you can keep on looting as you go, and growth plus 250 when initiating a migration or resettling. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Suebians play. Actually, it looks like quite a fun campaign to play as. But that's where we're going to wrap things up for now. So I do hope you've enjoyed this lengthy overview of the new DLC, The Last Roman, for Total War Attila. Feel free to share your thoughts on it. Do you like it? Do you hate it? This DLC, I mean, I've spoken previously in my other Let's Plays that I wasn't a fan of Creative Assembly and Sega's policy of releasing the Celts and Langobards DLCs as soon as they did after the game's launch. Campaign DLC, I'm actually more of a fan of than Faction DLC, and I kind of feel this is a reasonable length of time since the release of the game to start looking to expand the game with, mini DLC campaigns, although saying mini, the campaign maps are quite detailed and lots of provinces. But feel free to share your thoughts. I may do like an updated sort of impressions and thoughts video once I've actually played it a fair bit. But again, if you're interested in seeing a playthrough of this on my channel, I'll be doing a multiplayer versus campaign with uploads once or twice a week versus Alex the Rambler. I'll be playing as the Ostrogoths and he'll be playing as the Visigoths. So, until next time, hope you enjoyed. Ciao for now. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Take pride and join the Legion. All links are in the description, as well as multiple ways for you to connect with me. While you're there, why not have a look at the link for Green Man Gaming. They have a huge catalogue of games, both new and old, regular deals that are refreshed all the time, and you can save 20% by using my code. If gaming laptops are your thing, why not have a look at XMG? They have a large range of customizable machines, and you can save £30 off a purchase of a gaming laptop by using my affiliate link and code, also found in the description. So, until next time guys, ciao for now.